So, Yang Guifei is kind of weird. Before you start raising your eyebrows because, yeah, this might sound a little clickbaity, let me say this first. I know that beings from the foreigner class are, on average, way beyond normal. Like, each of them is already weird in their own way. They're all special. Which I just realized that I can probably milk this class for content for quite a while. Like, each of them has their own power set, their own way of existing, and even their classification within the class feels completely unique. But when it comes to Yang, there is something beyond all that. This is something that actually affects us. You see, she's one of those rare characters that really matches her legend. Like, you can actually see it happening in real time. So, let's step back a bit and talk about her real story. Especially for those of you who only know her for, you know, less historical reasons. Now, for those who don't know, Yang Guifei, real name Yang Yuhuan, was a woman from China's Tang dynasty, living around 719 to 756 AD. Guifei itself isn't even her name, it's just a title, basically meaning one of the highest ranking consorts in the emperor's court. And her story is messy. Before becoming the emperor's favorite, she was actually married to his son. Yes, his son. But Emperor Xuanzong of Tang became so obsessed with her that he arranged for her to leave that marriage and took her as his own consort. Despite the controversy, she became known as one of the most beautiful women in Chinese history. Famous not just for her looks, but also in her talent in music and dance. But her story didn't end like a fairy tale. As the empire began to fall into chaos during the Andalusian rebellion, soldiers blamed her and her family for everything. And in the end, the emperor was forced to make a choice. She was executed. Her death marked the end of one of the most tragic love stories in history, later immortalized in a Song of Everlasting Sorrow. And that's Yang Guifei, a woman remembered as one of the most beautiful in history, whose love story ended in sacrifice. In the Fate series, she often mentioned her family and friends, like in her room dialogue or when talking to others. She even talks about people who aren't in the game, and if you don't know the history, you probably won't understand who she means. But the point is, she is a woman known for her beauty and a lot of people know her. Even this mofo brag about sleeping with her once and putting her in the same level as Cleopatra. Now then, I said at the beginning that she's weird, right? So what's so weird about her? Well, it's her popularity. In FGO, Yang Guifei just shows up. Or at least that's how I remember it. She appears out of nowhere as a limited time New Year servant in 2020. I mean, that kind of surprise isn't unusual. Sometimes they just drop a new character banner first, then give them a proper story later. We've seen that happen with Hokusai. And I think Musashi also had a similar treatment, if I'm not mistaken. These two are also New Year limited servants, by the way, just in case you forgot. Now then, what about Yang? Well, she exploded in popularity the moment she dropped. If you're even a little bit cultured, you probably noticed it right away. There are just so many fanart sites out there. I don't even browse those sites that often. But even then, it was impossible to ignore. Within just a few days, her fanart started flooding in. And within the first month, she was producing significantly more fanart than other servants released around the same time. That's insane. Now, obviously, I'm not just saying this from my memory. I also did some simple accounting to check the numbers. I used BigSafe because many artists post there. You can find everything, from beginner works to very beautiful fan arts. Thankfully, I don't need to count it manually. First, search using the Japanese tags. Japanese tags matter because that's where most of the uploads are. Once you're in, you can choose the period time. Also, if you're still a kid or teenager, maybe don't hang around this site too much, okay? I'm only here to show you the numbers. Then in the end, I compared her to the servants released around the same time. I think you guys will be surprised by the results. I mean, even I was surprised. Just wait till the end to see what I mean. Look at this. In December 2019, when Europa and Orion debuted, they each had under 100 fan art in the first month. Then, Sei debuted. She got several times more than the others. I mean, that makes sense. Her design is cute, and her personality is cheerful. But then, Look at Yang. Compare the numbers. Yeah, everyone else get completely blown away by Yang. Earlier I said she lives up to her legend, right? Her legend is that she was unbelievably beautiful, the kind of beauty that could captivate an entire court, and somehow that translated perfectly into reality. Because when you look at it from the outside, it almost feels like this fictional version of Yang Guifei is doing the exact same thing. She shows up and suddenly artists everywhere just can't stop drawing her. I know she's designed to be a cute character, but what are the odds that her very first appearance, purely design-wise, would blow up that much? And honestly, I think a lot of that fan art comes purely from her design alone. Like, not really from her real-life story. Which is kind of crazy considering that Musashi also debuted in a similar New Year slot, and the two ended up with a very different levels of popularity. I'll show you in a minute though. This kind of reminds me of Omi-san not too long ago. Characters like her also blew up before becoming playable, but at least she had some presence. Even if it was brief, she appeared in the story and left an impression. But Yang Guifei, she had none of that. Not until the Imaginary Scramble event, which came almost a year after her release. It was in November. So yeah, people really draw her a lot just because she's beautiful, and I guess in a way, everyone's still influenced by her real-life legend. Now, you might wonder, some New Year servants also get this kind of treatment, right? Some have prior appearances before becoming playable while others don't. For example, I said earlier, there is Hokusai and Musashi, if I remember correctly. So, naturally, I compared them again. And the result is, again, Yang is still on top. I mean, come on, how is this even happen? It's freaking Musashi we're talking about. That's not even half of it. Sure, Musashi has 1,000 of fanats now compared to Yang. But I think that's mostly because Yang rarely appears on screen, while Musashi shows up everywhere. Even after the final act, Musashi still appeared again in the Grand Saber battle with new animation. And with how fun and sweet her personality is, the community just keeps getting more and more interested in her. Not to mention, her appearance in the Shimosa manga was actually fire. Meanwhile, Yang just out here burning things and eating lychees with barely any story appearances. Still though, the fact that she created this kind of phenomenon is actually amazing to witness. I guess today I just want to focus on that aspect of her. I still have a few theories, but I'll save those for another video. After all, the foreigner class is always full of mysteries. I guess that's it for today. Share this video somewhere and I'll see you guys next time.